Hello, and thanks for joining me. Well, we got a lot to do today. We're going to finish up this Hardinge lathe restoration, Hardinge Cataract. We're going to put in drawers, we're going to put a back on it, do some wiring. Then we're going to fix a problem that's really annoying me. Let me show you what that is. If you watched the last video, you probably remember hearing a rattling noise coming from the lathe while I was running it. That's these rollers right here. I got one out right now, but I didn't make them concentric. I didn't use the right procedure when I turned them, and one end was wobbling. I got this roller out and I got it in the lathe right now, and I'll show you what I'm doing here. Okay, I got a big dog, they call them, clamped on this roller. I had to grind it out to make it fit. And I got a faceplate mounted on my lathe. And I'm going to turn this between centers with these bushings to keep it centered. I got a center right there. And I had to use a larger live center that was large enough. My other center went right in the center of that bushing, but this should work all right. Now that lathe dog will drive it. And here was the issue, and I don't know if you can see that wobbling in the video. If I lay my thumb or fingernail on it, you can watch my finger bounce up and down. But that right there is what was causing the vibration and noise on the lathe. So we're going to turn down the surface of that and make it concentric with the center. Yeah, that was far enough out around to where I'm going to have to take 2 passes. I need to also do the small roller. Okay, let's give this thing a test and see if it works. That noise drives me nuts. There's a clearance in these sleeve bearings in the roller, an excessive clearance, so that I can adjust the roller level. If the clearance was too tight, then when I adjusted it, the other side would bind, at both sides really. So, next step is we're going to put ball bearings in here, and we're going to drill these all the way through. It'll lighten up these rollers and make them run a little smoother. It may help the balancing problem, but by doing that, I won't have any adjustment. So if that becomes an issue, I will lay a straight edge across here, make a line on the rollers, and cut a crown on there. Okay, I've got this centered in my forejaw. This one's got a fair amount of stick out. When I cut that bearing fit in there, it's probably going to chatter a little bit, but the next one, it sticks out about that far. So it won't go inside the chuck. So I don't know, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. This one should do okay. Obviously we're going to have to go in from both sides. Okay, I got it in back gear, and we're going to do away with that sleeve bearing there. The way I've got it mounted in there, it's hard to get out of there. Close enough. There we are, all the way through. Okay, I've got my tool just barely inside the end of that hole there. And there's how deep I need to go, so I'm going to set my carriage stop between the carriage and the carriage stop, put that bearing between there. Now when I go hit that stop, I'll be the same depth as the bearing. I'm about 17 thousandths shy. I think that's about right. About a half a thousandths under. Okay. This smaller roller needs a bearing with a 1/2 inch shaft, so and this is 5/8, so I got to reduce that. I'm going to do that with a little sleeve bearing. Oh, that's smooth as can be. Okay, before I go flip this over and drill all the way through, I'm going to cut this bearing fit. And we're going with this bearing here, which is 1 5/8 in diameter, 5/8 in the center. We're right at 1 inch now, so that means I need to go 312 thousandths. So I'm going to go about a little less than 300, and then actually I'm going to go about 250 and then cut my bearing fit. Five thousandths more. Okay, I suspect it's not going to track right. I hope it does, but I suspect it won't. Well, that's a lot quieter. Tracking good. Let's see what it does in reverse. Yeah, not so good there. See this? That belt right there. Okay. This just slides onto the 5/8 shaft, but I need some way to secure it to the shaft. So I'm going to create a spacer inside this, and then another spacer over the shaft on each end and clamp it together. to hold that middle race, because the middle race is spinning on the 5/8 shaft. So what I need to do is measure the distance between the outer two races and subtract the thickness of the bearings. 4 15/16. Okay, this is always a touchy situation. You want the bearing to be firmly against the spacer, but if the bearing fit is real tight here, you can have too much pressure on it and it'll lock up the bearing. But I think I got it about right, if I can get that back in there. Yep, that's good. Now I need two spacers, one here and one here. And then I'll shorten this bar, thread the end, and, well, I'll show you. Okay, I got a total gap here of about 3/4 inch, maybe a little less. So I need 2 3/8 spacers. I've got some 1/2 inch water pipe. And this is a 5/8 drill I just ran through it. I faced off the end already, and I'm going to take off this ugly coating on the outside. That's what I made the spacer between the rollers out of water pipe, or between the bearings. So I need 2 3/8 spacers. That might fix the tracking. I might just leave those rollers. I was going to cut crowns in there. But I think I'll just put the spacer in this roller and leave it at that. Well, I've got this one all done. And this one needs a spacer in it and a couple of spacers here to draw it together and solidify those inner races to the shaft. But for now, the inner races are not spinning and it's working all right. And I don't have a piece of tubing to go inside that, the right diameter. So I'm gonna wait till I come up with a piece of tubing. But for now, it's tracking good. It's much more quiet than it was. No more rattling noise going on. Seems to track okay. In reverse, it changes a little bit. But I'm okay with that. While I'm looking for a piece of tubing there, I'm going to move on to constructing the drawers. So here's what I got right here. I drew the drawers in CAD, kind of a blow apart top view of the drawers. That's the drawer front. And this is the drawer spacing right there. I'm going to have a 1/4 inch space between each drawer, top and bottom, and 1, 2, 3, 4 drawers. And that's the sizes I'm going to make. It's a pretty simple drawer. The drawer slides mount on the side, so Basically, I'm just making a box, a particular, actually 7 inches deep. So, should be pretty easy. Well, here's the wood I'm going to use. It's poplar and white oak. I'm going to use the poplar for the drawer sides, and the front will be white oak. And I'll fume that to be dark like the rest of it. Something interesting about poplar, notice the transition there in color. It's kind of a green cast and a brown cast. That's where a board was laying on top of this, and this was exposed to light. Poplar is green and turns dark brown when it's exposed to light, or at least part of it does. That right there won't turn dark. It's interesting property of poplar lumber, though. It looks like walnut in the dark areas after sun gets to it. Anyway, we're going to plane these down to 3/4 inch. Okay, there they are. That's all the pieces for the drawers, sides, and front. All cut to length except for one. I'll cut the back of the drawer to fit. Of course, I got to cut the bottom too. Okay, these right here are the back of the drawers. And the back of the drawers is narrower. I didn't need to cut that groove in there, but that groove serves as a locator for where I need to cut this off. So. Okay, this drawer goes together like this. I got one more cut to make, one more dado. I can put a dado right there. And see, that goes, it's a shorter back where I can slide a drawer bottom into it. So I've got to cut 2 dados in the back and then cut that to the appropriate length. Okay. I removed 1/2 inch total from these. So I need to add 1/2 inch to this dimension right here. So that's 21 15/16. Well, now all I got to do is sand these and then fume them with ammonia. And then put them together. Got to come up with some kind of drawer slide. Not drawer slide, some kind of hardware drawer pulls. I'm not sure what I'm going to do on that yet. I got a little bit of glue in that slot. There we go. Well, there they are. Drawers are done, just got to install them. I really like that fumed oak process. Look how dark that is. The grain. Beautiful grain. Okay, here's my drawer slides. Actually, very high quality drawer slides, full extension. I think I got five sets, but I think they were like $32 for 5 sets, which is a phenomenal deal. These are really good. I think they're rated for 100 pounds for the pair. But I've used them in the past and I'm really pleased with them. I'll put a link in the description area. So, there's the drawers all stacked up with an approximate 1/4 inch space between each one of them. And that's what I was aiming for. In reality, these turned out to be slightly smaller to make the drawers fit. I've done it like this in the past and it seems to work pretty good. I've got a variety of spacers here. These were a strong 1/4 inch. These are a little smaller. And I made some out of that which was too thin. Very slightly less than 1/4 inch is what I ended up in there, and the spacing turned out to where it's the total distance is right to fit in the cabinet. So this is how an easy way to put in drawer slides. First you find the appropriate spacers, put it on the bottom and one on the top, etc. Measure, make sure it's going to fit. And then you take this thing, just a scrap of wood, and you mark where you want to put the drawer slides. Put a T for top. And the drawer slides don't matter. In this case, this one was going to run into a bracket I got in there, so I made it a little lower. But you could put it at the top, you could put it at the bottom or in the middle. Really doesn't matter, as long as the guide doesn't hang off the bottom. But this is the center hole for mounting my drawer slide. So take that right there, and you drill a hole at each one of those marks. Okay, when I did that, I had it sitting on one of these spacers right here, like that. And that's how I want to mark it. And normally I would go to the bottom there, but I'll show you why in a minute, why I use that 1/4 inch spacer there. Okay, on this here you'll notice, you see the drawer slides right here. And it doesn't hurt a thing, but I'm going to try to avoid that on this installation. To do that, I'm going to put this spacer right behind the front lip of my drawer right there. Just like that. Okay, this next step, that drawer slide will be mounted right there, and this part will be in the cabinet. You just pull that out, and it's got a release right here. Pull that out like that. And this will mount right here. And these, they've got singular holes here. Like that, like that. Just put screws through those on the line. Now you just do the same thing to the other side. If you remember, when I marked the drawers, I had this piece of stock, my gauge, sitting on a spacer. Well, that spacer, this is the same thickness, same wood. That's going to control the gap between this frame and the bottom drawer. But seeing as how I can't see my lines on this dark wood there, I'm going to try putting a piece of tape on it. That tape will just stay underneath the drawer slide. Okay, I got a stick here made up with it's 1 inch wide, which was how far the drawer slides were set back. I'm going to make the front of the drawers even with this right here. So I'm going to clamp that. And I can just run my drawer slides up against that, and the drawers will be flush in the front. Okay, I move the camera to the back of the cabinet so you can see what I'm doing. Now I gotta line this drawer slide up against that wood in the front, and on that line. Okay, the problem is I need to extend the drawer slide to get to the other holes. But if I mount them all with that last screw hole and then take my front guide off, we'll be good. Now I can take off this front guide and secure all my front screws. I don't have to put masking tape on it to be able to see my lines like I did the other side. Looks like I need to adjust that bottom one up on this right side a little bit. Not sure how that happened, but otherwise it looks good. Okay, I got this hardware here from a local store. Kind of got mixed feelings about it, but that's what I'm going with. Didn't exactly what I wanted. And I got this jig here with the hole spacing. I got it all centered. This is my drill jig. Now that's nerve-wracking. One and 3/4 and 2 1/2. Well, there it is. They come out quite a ways. They're full extension drawer slides, but I mounted the drawer slides further back on the cabinet so they wouldn't show, but that's pretty much full extension. I like it. Well, the last thing I got to do is put the back on it and wire in the VFD so it's got its own power switch. Well, I wired in a switch off camera, and this is a switch to the VFD. I didn't want to leave the VFD on all the time. And this back is the back, so it's not seen all the time, so I'm not too concerned with what it looks like, but I think this looks all right. I wish I'd put a cord grip in there, but it's not worth taking the cord back out to put the grip on it, but it's held firmly in there, so not a problem. All right. Well, that about wraps it up for today. I'm pleased with the way it came out. I might do a few more things to it, like fix that smaller roller, put a spacer inside the roller and a couple on the outside of it. And I might end up changing the brass hardware on it, although it looks great. I was thinking wood hardware, wood poles on there would make it look more like a useful workshop item rather than a piece of furniture. And anyway, thanks for joining me. Be sure and subscribe and ring that bell.